And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to IT Career in Australia live stream. And tonight's topic is top tips to become a senior software engineer. Thank you for finding some time this evening to join our live discussion. Please make sure to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your comments and questions. So if you're new to my live show, I'm Jana Martens, and I've recently entered IT industry myself. So I'm passionate about learning more and also share my new findings with you on this YouTube channel. So tonight we're going to talk about top tips to become a senior software engineer. And Dishit is going to share his story, his experience, and give some tips on what skills you need to concentrate on to be successful in your software engineering career. So obviously, incredibly relevant topic for especially those who are starting their journey as a software engineers. So make sure tag or share it with your colleagues and friends who need to hear this. And before I'll pass it over to Dishit to introduce himself, just want to quickly remind you that we're going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So to watch replays, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. And I'm going live there every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various experts from my network. And we're talking about all the things about IT career, job search, and specifics of IT industry in Australia. So you can also join my meetup group to make sure you get notifications about the upcoming discussions. And also, please join the conversations. We are going to answer all your questions, all the questions on the topic from all the platforms. Please make sure ask as many questions you want, as long as you're staying on the topic. And the most active participants will also receive a nice surprise at the end of the stream. And I also encourage you also use this live stream as an opportunity, not only to learn new information, but to network with people in the industry and people who are joining us in the live stream as well. So that's enough of me. I'm just passing on to Dishit to introduce himself. Please, Dishit.
Hi all, I'm a senior software engineer working at Belong as of now. I started my career like 15 plus years back, and I played different roles. I worked as a performance engineer, then I worked as a software developer, DevOps engineer, and then finally right now as working as a senior developer right now. And I have worked on primarily on Java and then Python and bit of React and so, and obviously the cloud technology such as AWS and GCP. Yep, that's me, Yana.
Thank you, Dishit. Smail saying hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Smail. You here like every week. So good to see you again. We have our regulars. Guys, I know you're watching, so I really encourage you just to say a quick hi in the comments, because otherwise we don't know that you're here because we are streaming live. And plus, if you can tell us what is your position at the moment? Are you a software engineer? Are you QA? Are you in IT industry? Or maybe you completely from the different industry itself? So please comment below, let us know so we know, what questions we might, expect during our live stream. So just kind of before we dig into, all the top tips of becoming a senior software engineer, you should just tell a little bit your story. I guess you already mentioned that, you had a few different roles from, software engineering, DevOps, and performance engineering. But just overall, I guess, tell us a little bit more about your journey and I guess what helped you to navigate your career.
So one of the key things that I had always in my mind was keeping on learning and accepting any challenges that comes along. So that was one of the the approach or the attitude that I had from the start of my career. So, and whenever I got a role that I was supposed to do, I would kind of dig deep into it, learn as much as possible on that front, and try to deliver it to the client. So that was always the objective, and that is still the same. That you keep on learning and overcoming challenges. The other aspect that I always enjoyed was because you're in the lot of things are dynamic around you, so you get different opportunities at different point of time. And sometimes even just being staying open to a different kind of a role kind of lends you that door, it gets you the door open for you, and you don't even know, and suddenly you are there in that particular role, doing the stuff that dreamt or might have thought about, that you might want to try that. So that, because of keeping that open attitude, that kind of helped me a lot in switching careers or switching roles as I wanted to. So that was a good takeaway for me.
Jason is joining us here now as well. Jason's regular as well. Thank you to being here every Wednesday. And he's a junior operations, working in junior operations. Yes, thank you. Okay, so Dishit, let's, I guess, dig in straight, straight into your tips. So we're not, making sure we have time to go through all the tips. So straight to the point. If someone's maybe in the beginning of their, software engineering career, they want to be senior. So what is, I guess, your first advice for someone like that? What they should try to do?
Yeah. So one of the key things that happens when we join as a junior engineer is that we are like very eager and enthusiastic to work, and that kind of and that's a really good thing, and because we really want to do good work and we want to deliver good stuff. But what happens is, like, whenever somebody gives us a requirement, we kind of, as a junior engineer, I would kind of jump straight right into it. I will start doing it and give it back within a day or two, without, because I'm very good at it and I want to show everybody that I'm really good at it. But that kind of flips a lot of problem, that causes a lot of problems, and you kind of miss a lot of opportunities at that point of time. One of the key things at that point of time is, like, you have time. People know that you are a junior, they will give you time around it. So if you straight jump into it, you kind of lose that time for yourself to analyze and work on the problem. The other aspect is that you need to understand, we forget to understand why we are implementing it, because we are in a hurry to go and implement it. So understanding that reason gives us a business perspective, and over a period of time, over a long career, having that business perspective always behind your mind when you're writing code or even doing a quality assurance job, you have that gives a very good value add to the business. Because at the end of the day, what we are doing is, not our goal is not to write a code, but it's mainly to solve a business problem. And yeah, and then one of the other aspect of this is as well, that sometimes a senior guy comes in and says, what, do this in this fashion and this will work. But that then there are two aspects of it. One is you go and do it, but there's another way, is like, you can kind of ask him why he is suggesting this, or what is the rationale behind it. And and, and that kind of helps in that particular role, as well as when you kind of switch. People ask you, why did you implement a particular thing in a particular way, you will have an answer to that. And that keeps on enhances your learning over a period of time. So, and I have seen, when you ask those questions, right, when you ask why, sometimes you uncover some of the hidden assumptions behind the requirement. They are not rarely apparently clear. So that's another good takeaway that you might get. So yeah, that's why
Do,
it's like one of the biggest tip. Yep.
do you think, like, some people who's quite junior might be just a bit I don't know, scared to ask why? Like you junior, you don't know yet, kind of like you're really happy you get this, maybe, your first job, and then, the senior developer coming to you saying do that, and you like um feel like you don't want to challenge them. So do you think it's kind
Yeah.
of them overcoming
Yeah.
that
Yeah, if you're a senior developer, it generally is a challenge in doing that. Uh, but I mean, yeah, if you're persistent in the question, generally you get answers. And yeah, most of the people who are senior, they kind of appreciate when somebody asks a question. So it's not a problem there. But like, I know if you are an introvert, like, and I myself am, so. Uh, I mean, I would, if I don't agree with it, I still go ahead and I would not do what he said. I would do it something my way, and then something breaks, and I kind of know why he was saying that. So that's one of
So
the. I
learning
mean,
from
this is not.
mistakes.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, that's not the ideal way, but that's another way to do that. And yeah, and you kind of learn as you go. And what I always seen is like when you take risk, like people, even if you make a mistake, people appreciate it that you have tried something else which you are not told to, and sometimes suddenly that thing worked and you get a lot of appreciation. And if it doesn't work, still people kind of say it's okay, you can do it next time. So, but it was a good approach to try. So that's always been the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, it's about the balance, trying to do things yourself and trying to understand why in the beginning before you make this mistake.
Yes, it's always a catch 22 because you have a time to deliver, and then you don't want to take a risk and kind of delay on the delivery. But yeah, it's a touch and I mean it's a trial and error. I say you try something and then it doesn't work. You have a backup plan. You push the backup plan in, and then try it
Yeah.
out in your own time sometime later. So that also works. Yeah.
Yeah, and you definitely, I guess, learn quicker than you ask those questions. Otherwise, if you just keep doing the same things or keep getting the same tasks, and can get just quite
Yeah,
repetitive as well.
yeah, and I've seen people. I mean, even like with a lot of years of experience, they write this code they wrote 5 years back, and yeah, and then when you look at that code, you feel that the person has not grown up yet. It's not using any of the newer benefits of the technology that has been gone on so far. So that also shows as whether that person has got a learning at approach in their lives or not. So that's another reason why we should always look at why, asking why, and trying to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess you already started, mentioning about the code and trying to upgrade your code as you go. So I guess it's bring us to your second tip.
Yeah. So this is like one of the things when we start off as a junior developer. Like when we are starting off, we always want that we should be able to find the solution on our own. We need to know. We need to write our own solution. We should not, look at because we feel like it's like cheating when we are looking at somebody else's solution. But that is not the case because when you're working for an enterprise or any other organization, what you're trying to do is you're trying to solve a business problem. So it doesn't matter how you arrive at that problem. What it matters is how you are solving it, whether you've done it in a right way, whether the approach worked or not. So that's the key thing. So I mean that's one of the apprehensions when we started off. But when you move on, when you kind of when you read other people's code, when you review code, you read very deeply, you kind of understand that patterns or some of the ideas that other people have used it, and it's absolutely okay to use those ideas because it has worked well for them and it would work well for you. So yeah, anyways, it's not like you not obviously you don't do a blind copy. You understand why it was used, where it was used, and how you can use those. And yeah, your code will start improving very, even if you just copy those patterns into your own code, it will start improving your own code and your own understanding. Because when you write those test cases around those code that you have written, you will understand it a little bit more deeply. So that's why like a lot of people skip this step, like they don't read code. So that's one of the key reasons. I mean, they all want to write code but they don't want to read code. But I mean, it's there's a book by Clean Code by Rob Clean Code, and in that book, the author mentioned the same thing that we only write the code once, but it's read like 100 times more because it stays in production like 5 years or something. So a lot of people are going to
Yeah.
read that code. So it's important that you read the code and you know how to read it as well. So that's
I think I had a picture somewhere that related to this. Ah, here you go.
yeah, that's right.
I think that's a picture that's actually kind of summarizing it in a
Uh,
way. So we all, I
yeah,
guess, get excited about reinventing the wheel, and it
yeah,
is exciting thinking that you like come up with something new. But yeah, but in reality, yeah, as you mentioned, it's all about solving the problem at the end of the day, and it's not about like coming up with the most comprehensive and interesting code on the planet.
yep. And it also is very important that your code is readable, because if you're reading code, you will know how the readable code looks like. So you automatically write a readable code. So that's another benefit of it.
Perfect. And I guess there is another thing we need to read as well. So,
Yeah,
what else do we need to read?
it's documentation. Yeah. So that's another one, right? It's one of those things that nobody wants to do it, but the people who do it, who are good at it, I mean, good at writing code or being a good engineer, is where they read a lot of documentation. Technical documentations are hard to understand and hard. It's not very easy to go through. There are pitfalls, because the people who are writing technical documentation are like people are like us, so they also might not be very good. So but reading that documentation, it kind of gives an exposure as to, it tells us some of the documentation are very well written. They give you a lot of exposure as to why a certain thing has to be implemented, or what pattern can it be used and what it cannot be used, and so forth. And sometimes you do get bugs in your code, and that's when that reading that documentation kind of gives you very good understanding. Sometimes that there will be one sentence which you will not be understanding. You might have been skimmed like 10 times over it, but when you get that particular bug, that's when that documentation suddenly lights up. You know what, I read that time, and you kind of know, okay, this is why this particular thing is happening, or it's behaving in such a way. So that again helps you out a lot in a very good way. So
Did you read the documentation when you started?
yeah, no, when I started, I would jump and do it, and I would hit that boulder, that not working, not working, not working, and then you know what, I need to read the documentation. I could go back and then start reading it, understanding it. Yeah, so yeah, at the start I did not. I'll be honest, I did not. I thought that was anybody can. I mean, it's not necessary, but over a period of time, I know that's very important of reading those documentation and those pages, because that gives a very good perspective. Yeah.
It's like, reading manuals and you get IKEA furniture. Who reads that? You just
Yeah. You start.
you just get the furniture and start putting it together. No one read the manuals.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's. But
Actually,
yeah, I mean, if you,
guys who's in the
yeah, go ahead.
call, like, do you read manuals when you get the furniture from IKEA? I'm just curious. Do you actually follow the instructions, or you just get excited and start putting things together? Um, I'm kind of doing half half. I think I'm kind of like looking a little bit at the at the manuals, and then yeah, that will do.
Yeah, for me, I don't like to build. I mean, uh, create those stuff. I mean, screwing and tightening and everything. So I try to follow the documentation so that it gets over quickly. It's a little bit other
Yeah,
way around. Yeah.
otherwise you put half of the cabinet together, and then
Yeah.
you realize that the shelf is not fitting in because you needed to
Yeah.
put it in the beginning. So I think we've all
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
um so okay, so read the code, read the documentation, ask why. So what's next?
Yeah. This is like as a very old cliche about it, that you need to be good at communication, but it's there for that same specific reason. It's very important in how we do it. Uh, yeah, maybe when you're a junior developer, you might have seen people in movies just writing code on their own in a dark room, but it doesn't happen that way. I mean, with the lockdown, yes, it can happen, but you are interacting, you're working in a team, you're interacting with a lot of many people, you're interacting with the QAs, you are interacting with the BAs, business analysts, PMs, and everyone, and everybody has got their own perspective. So the challenges that happen is, like, if you are talking to business analysts, you cannot go and talk to them the technical details or to a very granular level, but you still need to give at a higher level. And similarly, vice versa, if you're talking to a senior developer, you really need to go. You cannot just say this is not working. You need to tell them why it is not working. Like, you need to ask yourself the question like 5 times why, why it's not working, why it's not working, so that you kind of know very clearly about your why it's not working, so and you can give a proper answer to a senior developer. But yeah, for business analyst, then you will have to kind of translate that again into a bit of more business context, and then provide that input. So Yeah, I mean that's one of a biggest challenge, and I think one of the ways you can kind of improve is you kind of participate more in those the tech huddles or the engineering practice meetings, or giving out presentations out over a period of time. So then that those presentation kind of gives you because there are diverse audience, it kind of gives you a lot of background as to what people are thinking or what they want out of the presentations and so on. So that really gives you a good understanding of how to communicate what based upon what the audience wants. Yeah.
Um, just Devendra is joining us from India as well. Great, Devendra. Let us know if you are working as a software engineer or in any other position. So it would be good to know. This is just on this communication note. So what do you think? Yeah, so we obviously talk a lot about communication when we talk about IT career, and there is so many, I guess, other positions rather than software engineer that need even more, communication skills. But what do you think to be, successful, senior software engineer? Can you do it only based on your technical skills? Like, what I mean? So, what would be, I guess, percentage of technical and soft skills you need to be a successful senior software engineer from your perspective?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I won't
Purely
be able to
from your
give up.
perspective, not from like
Yeah,
statistics or anything, purely from your perspective. What do you think?
I mean, it goes hand in hand. So what happens is like as an engineer, suppose I'm a QE engineer, I need to kind of interact. If there's a problem in a particular code, I need to interact with the developer. I need to go and talk to the PM about it. That this is a bug that we need to investigate, and then I need to, if there's a shift in timeline, I need to talk to them. So if I as a QA engine, I kind of have to talk to the whole gamut of people around there to know how do we solve it, and you kind of have to. The communication is two way. They will ask few questions, and there will be a lot of going. And if there's a requirement miss that would have happened, then the discussion goes into a different direction, and then how do you manage your project around it? So yeah, so it becomes very challenging in that sense that. Like obviously if you're a QE role, it's a little bit more you need communication. A developer has got some leeway in that sense that they can spend some time writing only code, but that is not always the case. They also have to like be part of that process. Even if there's a production incident, they have to not only investigate the issue, they also have to keep on communicating as to what's happening at every point of time and to a diverse audience. So it goes hand in hand. It's just that there might be a period when for a few days you might not have to communicate with anyone, and but then there will be a few days where you are just have to talk to people about the issues and the challenges and the statuses and also yeah, so it's not yeah, it's always not going to be like 50-50 every day, but it will be like in chunks. So few days it will be communication, few days it will be work, I mean writing code and so on. So yeah.
So, have you ever, met a really successful, like senior principal software engineer developer who have like zero communication skills? Who don't really kind of talk with people. He just sit in the corner and code.
No, I have never. It's yeah, it's not. It's very difficult. Like if you're sitting in a corner, you can't go outside. Yeah, you can't go up. Yeah, people
So,
know
like,
by the
can you
by the
progress? Can
value.
you progress to senior software, like to a senior role, if you're not really, progressing with your communication skills? What do you think? If you
No,
just like really concentrate on technical skills?
yeah, it's yeah, it's not possible. Yeah, it's not human because yeah, we are working in a team. There are people around it. People can only work together if we communicate. And if you don't, if you're facing challenges communication, obviously you have to overcome that first before working on any other of your technical skills. I mean, I'll give an example. It kind of gives one of the times there was a we are all remote working these days, and there was a group chat that was going on, and somebody asked a question. The engineering manager sent a note to the BA saying asking for some statistics from the production, and she was not answer she was not answering that question. And because it's a production incident, I was also on that chat, and I was thinking, why is she not doing it? And then I thought maybe she doesn't she might face some challenges in writing that, getting that stats from production. Then I asked her in a separate chat, do you think do you want me to help you? And she said, yeah, yes, absolutely. I was just fully thinking about it, how I'm going to solve it. It might take a couple of hours for me to get that incident. For me it was like 20 minutes. So so then that, because I had reached out and did that particular kind of a communication, it kind of fostered the team culture, that if I have faced any problem, they would be jumping in for my help. And yeah, and the whole, I mean, one of the other key insight is that, it is not important that you become a very good developer. It is important that your team goes progress well. It's all about your team. It's not about your own code or your own. It's the team has to succeed for you to succeed. So yeah, that's another important thing on this. And for team to succeed, you need to communicate at the end of it.
Jason asking, where will be days with no collaboration? Seems like you need to talk with teammates every time. So do you think, like, do you feel like sometimes there are some days that you don't need to collaborate, or is it like most of the time, every
Yeah,
day it will be some collaboration?
yeah, absolutely. I don't talk to the team. Yeah, a couple of days, at least a week. I don't want to, because then I cannot focus on my work. It is being part of engineering. Some days you have to do your own work. So it's absolutely fine. We have, like in retros, we go and ask people that we want meeting free days. We kind of
Yep.
actively ask for it, to so that we can focus and do our work. So that's another aspect of it. So as I said, that we do it in chunks. So some days we only don't talk to anybody and work on our own stuff, but there are days where we really need to go out and talk to a lot of people to get problems assessed and solved, kind of thing. So uh,
Yeah. And from, like, I guess from your career and how you progress with your career, did you feel like you had some sort of I don't know, um, some moment in your like life or career that you're like, okay, so I really need to start working on my communication skills? Was it in any like a moment that you're like, okay, so that's a moment that it's not only about technical skills for me now, I really need to concentrate on communication skills now?
yeah, so for me, that was actually drilled down from the very start of it, because I always
Mm-hmm.
worked for clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I was initially working out from India, and so I was always we had US clients or American clients, and it was one of the key aspects. Like people who succeeded very fast, when I started during those time, they were people who were most good at their own communication skills, because yeah, we did not have the concept of pull request the way we have right now at that point of time. So yeah, so a lot of the work that was showcased was through emails and presentations and those kind of channels, rather than from code. So at that point of time, it was a bit more very I had a very good start, where they really emphasized on my communication. And it's not that I'm still there yet. I still have to improve a lot, but yeah, that has always been a focus area for me over a long period of time. And yeah, and when I came to, yeah, Australia, I mean, that was even more pronounced. Here in Australia, it's absolutely important that you need to have a very good communication skills. Like, how do you talk to people? I mean, yeah, and I think, Yana, you can probably pull that out a bit more from your experience as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, the even when we coming back to like the job search as well. So when you're trying to progress in your career, you're trying to progress in in your own company, but you get to the point that you need to go and look for job to progress in your career, and get the job elsewhere. And then going through interviewing process, it's all about communication skills. So if you don't work on your communication skills, even if great at coding, how you gonna go through this first screen of the interviews till you get to this technical challenge finally?
Yeah, and I had a friend. I mean, I can give him an example. He's a very good guy. I mean, in terms of technical skills, and And he told his he did not tell his experience. His manager told me the experience over a lunch or something. He said that when this guy came in for 10 minutes, I texted the other guy in the interview saying that I'm not going to hire him because this guy was not speaking. And but something triggered after say 15 minutes, and this guy started speaking, and then there was this guy is really actually good, and they hired him, and then they kept him like for 3 years. So yeah, so that's how important it is. Like in the first 5-10 minutes, if you're not able to get that message across that you know your stuff, then yeah, it's very hard for you to come back. Like for my friend, he was lucky in that regard. So but yeah, you may not be lucky all the time. Yeah, so that's the key thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We all know how important is first impression, and just basically this elevator pitch. Yeah, so elevator pitch is not only for businesses and startups or anything like this. Elevator pitch, it's about your presentation of yourself, and so often then when you're going through interviewing person, people just keep going on and keep going on, and start, like, I guess, getting stressed and start mumbling around and talk about everything that they put in their resume, instead of just giving a really concise, like, 2 minutes introduction of themselves, where they highlight their experience, their domains, and so on, so that then the interviewer can actually ask more questions and ask them to go into more details, instead of them like trying to talk about everything they can for 10-15 minutes without even giving the
Yeah.
chance the interviewer to ask the question.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same problem, and then what I did was in that scenario is that I would, whenever an interview over calls me, I have a ready-made answer for myself that this is what I'm going to speak about because this is the role I'm targeting. So this is my brief. So I don't need to go through it every day. I just go through once, and then at least for a week, I know that this is what I'm going to speak about. It's just being about being prepared. And even when you're going for your interview, it's very important that you have those things already written down so that you're when you know that these questions are going to be asked. You have to be ready for that anyways. So it's always
Yeah.
good to be having those answers ready. So they will always be brief, and it will not you will not kind of talk and talk and talk kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, no matter how good you're at communication, if you put on the spot, majority of us, like, start can start mumbling or getting a bit overwhelmed. But if you just have prepared, you have your questions ready, instead of coming up with some ideas on the spot, it definitely give you a big advantage compared to other people who are going for the same job. So being really concise and to the point, and actually, like, I guess, understanding what you want from your next step as well. So saying about this shit, how, like, what was, I guess, main challenge for you then you progress with your career? Um, what do you think was like the main challenge for you? Like, did you feel that you got like stuck at some point to kind of to progress further, or and how do you overcome it? Like, did you have any like examples like that?
Yeah. So from a role perspective, when I came to Australia the first time around, I was kind of stuck in a particular role for not for long, but for a year kind of thing. But yeah, and that's where I kind of started assessing myself how I have to beat the market, or how do I get better than other people around me who are giving the similar interviews. And well, some of the areas that I found was in terms of how you answer a question when you're asked by a recruiter. And one of the things, I mean, it came over a period of time, is about answering the questions in the star format. Like you provide a situation, task, action, and result. That's true even for if you're on your job. Like if you're on a job and somebody asks a question, so you can kind of give a bit of background saying, this was a situation, this is what I had to do, and I did this, and this is the conclusion. It might have not worked or worked, that's a different story, but that kind of gives a whole picture to that, or like a story around it, and people kind of understand from where you are coming from or what you have done. And so that the next person, if they have to take build on top of it, they can very well go ahead and do it, or if they have to communicate the same thing to someone else, they are in a good situation where they can do that. So that was like one of the key things that I learned. And I've seen that people, I mean, I always got a very good feedback when in terms of that piece, that I was able to communicate my whatever I wanted to in a very good way, and they were able to understand and then go for it. So that was one of the key things that I had, and it helps me in all the situations. So yeah, it like, even if you're giving a presentation, you put it in that star. I'm a fan of star format. But if you put that
Yeah.
in that format, people can see, okay, this was the situation, this is what you did, this was the thing you had to do, you did this is the result you got, and these are the benefits. So suddenly everybody's engaged and hooked up on doing that. So that was one of the benefits to that. So
So, and you feel like that definitely helped you to, to progress in your career as well.
yep. Yeah, and the way you prepare for it, you kind of go through your resume many times and find out the relive those situations in your life where you had done very well, where you had made mistakes. Kind of just recollect, put it in your, bring it to your top of your mind, so that some of the questions might be related to it, and you might be able to answer that because it's there on the top of your mind. So that kind of helps you.
And I guess coming back, to our communication tips, I think there's one more tip that we actually haven't mentioned from the ones that you put in the presentation. So what about that? As a senior engineer, you don't know something.
Yeah, that's uh, it's very common, like for senior engineers to not know anything and also to make mistakes. So yeah, that's an or symbol in between that in the slide. So yeah, it actually gives a very good feeling when a senior guy comes and tells, that was my mistake and because of that it happened. It kind of puts a junior engineer at ease, because if a senior engineer comes and tells that, it's a very you feel, what, that he's so senior and he still made a mistake and he's accepting it in front of me, which means he's a genuine guy. So as a leader, that kind of works very well. If you have that attitude of saying, say, I don't know, or I need to find out, or I made the mistake here. But as a junior, it's much more important, because if you don't accept that, the other person already knows you did it. It doesn't matter whether you did it or not. The other person has already, because he's a senior, he will know, has gone through the same phases of life. So they would already have gone through those scenarios. So but if you are willing to accept it, it actually quickens your learning. It also reduces your mistakes. You will be more careful the next time around. And it's okay to feel that you don't know. It's not a I mean, the technology changes very fast, and we everybody has to kind of keep on learning to put that in. So, and when you're learning, it's not that you will be getting that thing right the first time around. You might make mistakes. So but it's important that you own it up, and then you fix it up. And it's a lot of times the speed at which you fix is what people wanted. People don't expect that the code to be perfect. They know that there can be bugs in it, but what they want is like how fast you can fix it, how fast you can investigate and resolve it. So but if you don't accept it, that's a bug, then the things go round and round, until and unless yeah, so that kind of delays it. But if you accept it and you fix it, people are happy about it, and they kind of give you good feedback as to that was a good job done, kind of thing. So it's absolutely, and like has happened in my team as well. Like there's a very senior guy who came and tell, that was my mistake, I should have done that. And suddenly the whole atmosphere changes and everybody's okay, let's fix it, and how do we go from here. So it's very powerful actually to do that.
Yeah, admitting and accepting your mistakes, and you actually get more respect for that, um, than rather just trying to hide it, and or even worse, blaming someone else.
Yeah.
And
And
Smail,
yeah,
actually, yeah, yeah,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah,
But at
yeah,
the
yeah.
end of the
No,
day,
go
it's a
ahead.
team. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a team thing. So if you have made a mistake and if you're not owning it up, or you're asking somebody, it's somebody else's thing. It doesn't put the team in good light. So as I said, it's always success is always a team success. It's not about you. So yeah, if you have done a mistake or somebody else has done, if you're fixing it for them, it's still a very good thing to do, because you're actually helping the team win.
100%. And the question from Snail, just more regarding, I guess, your work in general. How can you keep up with the compliance and regulations whilst building your solution? It's clear that compliances are different depending on industry, and those regulations impact directly the way we code. Have you been dealing
Yep.
much with the compliance recently?
I have not, to be honest, I have not gone through compliance, but what I've seen is like if we are in a compliant related industry, there are certain things that we have as a check marked item. So one of the things that recently I found was that if you click on an agreement saying that I have read everything, and you click on certain thing, and then that has to be stored in your database, so that's required for by your auditors at certain stage. So that's like a very simple thing, but that is very important from a compliance perspective. So yes, you might not have it at you might not have all the compliance regulations when your code all the time, but we kind of learn from experience is what I have seen happening. Unless if it's a absolutely regulated industry like a healthcare industry, then there are different regulations that before you start to code, you kind of need to know everything in place, and before you write a piece of code. And if you're in a team like that, you kind of get those kind of review comments, and you kind of learn as you go as well. So yeah, it's a bit complex, but yeah, with different people in the team, you with the team, I think you kind of crack it easily. Yeah.
With the bits and pieces. Jason's asking, should you want to maintain quality rather than trying to go fast as you can? Where is that
Yeah.
balance?
Yeah, it's a tightrope, but I would still go for yeah, if you have to be a senior engineer, you need to go for quality uh, first, and then for the speed. um, it's primarily because if you've written a code and you're delivering say half the time that you had estimated, uh, one, what happens is the next time you estimate a similar chunk of work, you will reduce the time available for you to do it. Second, when there are a lot of defects that comes in because you are a little bit hasty around it, it kind of gives a very negative feel. So you're not trying to it kind of decelerates your growth, if I might say, because people start saying, okay, he writes the code, but there are a lot of bugs in it. So then because there's some other engineer needs to pick up and do other those fix those so many bugs in that. So it's always a challenge. If you're a junior, it's definitely better to go for quality, because people understand that you're a junior and you will take some time. So it gives you some time. You cannot, yeah, you get your work life balance sorted in that sense. You go slow, but you're delivering a quality thing. And yeah, I mean, to a bit more perspective is what I think I heard somewhere else, that if your career is not 1 year or 2 years, right? It's, yeah, 15 years. I think 40 years is what I somewhat heard, I think, on this channel itself. So yeah, so it's a 40-year career, so it's a long time. So you don't need to really go very fast. You Even if you do go slow, but you're delivering good, um, yeah, it just has a compound effect. There's another saying that say, what you do anything is how you do anything is how you do everything. So even that little things matter. And as when you once you build a reputation of a person who delivers code with very good quality, you start getting higher responsibilities and higher better challenges. And if there's a bigger challenge, people will come to you rather than they go to a person who writes fast but has a lot of bugs in it. So yeah, I would still go for quality.
And I guess, yeah, you just also mentioned it's like majority of things in life, it's a journey, not a destination. So
Yeah.
unless unless I don't, you like have a really hard like line that you need to be senior in like a few years, but then in reality, yeah. So it's not about just getting to this destination. It's about um, also enjoying, I guess, enjoying your role, enjoying the journey, enjoying what you're doing, and I guess not to be scared, maybe change direction sometimes as well. So like this should like actually coming back to your career, did you feel like you had a clear career path in your mind, like when you started, or was it really kind of like grabbing the opportunity that comes in, or like was it a combination of?
Yeah, so when, it's a very interesting question. But so when I started, I joined a organization, and based on their growth, I kind of charted my own growth. This is how I will be. And then, like after 5 years, that was smashed into pieces, and then yeah, and then it was pretty much on the fly. I would not say that, but it was I was reassessing everything. So I was reviewing and reassessing where I am and what next I want to do. So if I thought that, okay, this at this point of time, I need to change my role, so then I would kind of reassess what are the different roles I can go into, and what are the skill gap that I have that I need to cover for that particular role, and then do those trainings accordingly, and find out how other people are doing, and I will do my own research and reassess and revalidate. So that piece is what I think I'm a bit more fan of, that you kind of review, reassess where you are, and set your goals accordingly. So, and the more you do it, the better you become. And once you achieve that goal, like if you look at 5 years down the line, if you had a dream and you kind of achieved it, that gives a lot of confidence of for you yourself, that you decided that this is what you want to be 5 years down the line. You did that, and then that becomes a very good benchmark for yourself, so that you kind of go on improving from there and take on the different opportunity from there. Yeah.
How often do you think people should, review their career goals?
I would say 6 months is a good time to do it. Yeah, that 6 months is a good time, because I think that would, yeah, that you have a technology change happening probably like around 18 months of time. So say every 6 months you kind of review as to where you are and where you want to go. It would kind of give a good benchmark around it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, the
I
way
think it
yeah.
is moving really quickly these days. I think like the average now, the average people staying in one job is about 18 months. So
Yeah,
compared to
that's right.
like previous generation that would stay in the same job for like 10 years. So
Yes, that's a lot true. But I think it's one of the thing is, like, if you're doing it every 6 months, it also gives you a vision as to where you want to be a year or 2 years down the line, and whether you're taking those right steps towards it or not. So that recalibration kind of gives you the problem. What happens if you don't do it for 6 months, and that you kind of stop doing it, and a lot of people don't do it, and that kind of you kind of get stuck into a role, and then and there would be some life event that comes in and tells you, you know what, now you have to change job, and then that's where the whole reality hits you, that you have to change a lot, and there will be then it will take a while for you to change. And yeah,
yeah.
the world has moved on, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah, and you
that's the
feel
problem.
like you're left behind there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm just also cautious about the time. This sheet we're almost at the 50 minutes mark. So um, let's, I guess, summarize quickly. I guess with five main tips for that from Dishit to progress in your software engineering career and become software engineer. Keep asking why. Yeah, keep asking
yep.
why the things get done certain way. Read a lot of
Yeah,
code, even if you
yeah,
don't want to read and want to code instead of reading.
yeah,
Read documentation, even if it's boring, but make sure look at the documentation as well. Improve your communication skills, and admit then you know that you're wrong and you've done something incorrectly, instead of trying to hide it and and maybe
yeah.
finding someone else who who you can blame for. So yeah, so I guess that's my summary. So anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think you have covered it all. So yeah, I think we talked about in the start that, yeah, you need to have that approach to be open and keep on learning as things move on. And yeah, and I think we covered at the end. The other part is, like, you need to review it. So if you have those two things in place, you kind of are doing it correctly, because you're reviewing it, so you know where to go, and you're keeping an open mind and you're learning it, reviewing it. So that cycle kind of leads you forward all the time, and so you never get stuck anywhere, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And I think another one, we talk about it in the previous live stream, is this having your setting up your own learning plan as well. I think like every time you're like doing this kind of, your career review, for example, 6 months, trying to set up like, your own learning curriculum for next 6 months. Thinking about, maybe some technology you want to learn, or some, communication skills you want to improve. I guess that's quite important as well, that you don't fall to this situation that suddenly, you need to change your job, and and you're still
Yeah.
stuck like in a 5 years old technology.
Yeah, I think one of the it's that learning plan is absolutely important. One of the things that I have seen is like people in large service-based organization, they ask you to learn a lot of stuff, and they will be asking like, go and learn this certification, do and go and do this certification, and so on. Now that is a good, in a good way. It's a little, it's good in some way, but the challenge what happens is like, the person, if I'm an employee and they tell me today that, go and do some certification in AWS, because that's a hot thing, and I go and do it, and then the next day they go and tell me that, go and do a certification in Azure because we have got a client coming in. And that doesn't make sense. So I mean, if if I were an employee, it doesn't make sense to me, but for the business, or for the company, it makes perfect sense, because they can get more clients into the window. But so that's where, what is important is that you need to know where you want to go, and unless and until you have that review and reassess cycle within yourself, where you're doing that, you're never going to have that growth. You cannot say no to the organization. You know what? I'm not going to do that. That you cannot say that, because you don't know where you want to go in the first place. So that's one of the things that I talk about in one of my content, is that organization only care about their goals. They are never going to align to your personal goals. Your personal goals are yours, and you have to be responsible for that.
And you need to communicate them, yeah, because
Yep, yep.
sometimes it's as simple. Organization might just don't even know your personal goals, because you never actually went and speak with a manager, or speak with HR, or speak whoever you can speak in organization. They just simply don't know, because you never communicated them.
Yes, that's true. Valid, very
So
valid point.
that's another point, like, firstly, make sure you have those goals. And secondly, make sure you communicate them as well. And
That's, yeah.
I guess, Dishit, to summarize, you also, I think, you have some giveaway for everyone who's joining us today. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit what you do as well, a part of your job.
Yeah, so this is just a giveaway that I kind of compiled a list that, based on my career, I compiled a list that these are things that managers don't tell you anywhere. And one of the things in this particular list is the one that I just now talked about, saying that organizations only talk about their own goals. They're not much bothered about your personal goals, to put it very mildly. But yeah, and then there are other tips as well, like, it is your, as I said, your career is your responsibility, and you have to be owner of your career rather than anybody else. So yeah, so this particular thing is just, there are 5 more tips I don't remember at the top of my mind, but yeah, so that I will just give out free for anybody who sends me an email with the free bonus as a subject line. Yeah, that's a simple thing.
Perfect. Let's make sure to put it in the comments as well. So, guys, just you can send the email to the sheet if you want to get this 7 awesome career tips from manager will never tell that manager will never tell you. And before we, finish our tonight live stream, so if you have any last question to the sheet, please put it in the comments. And while you doing that, if you have any questions, I'm just do a quick announcement for next week. Next week on Wednesday, we're going to talk with Pauline, and we're going to talk with her how to shift your career from sales to software engineering. So Pauline will talk about her journey. So she moved to software engineering from non-technical background. So if you the person who's thinking to change your career into IT, probably good conversation to join us next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. And in 3 weeks, we're going to talk with Ashish, and we're going to talk about the difference between working in a startup versus corporate in IT industry. So quite relevant topic for those who may be, in their career journey and thinking what's next for them, and trying to think about all these pros and cons, which company they should choose to work for. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, Dishit, for taking time tonight to joining us for this evening discussion. So I guess you know what's coming. So as usual, at the end of my live stream, I ask my speakers to share their favorite inspirational quote. Did you prepare one, or is it a surprise for you?
For
Do you
me,
have your favorite inspirational quote that you can share with us?
I think the one I said once, I think that should be the um, how you do anything is how you do everything. I think that would
Yep.
summarize. So yeah, so it will just keep ensure that you.
Did we just lost the shit in the last minute? Oh no.
Yeah, sorry, I think
Sorry, we lost you.
Yeah, so
I don't know
I was
if we
saying.
lost me or if we lost you. I don't know, but it was like frozen for like 20 seconds. Maybe it was me who frozen. I don't know, but sorry, can you just repeat it for us again?
Yeah, so how you do anything is how you do everything, and that would ensure that if you just remember that, it kind of ensures you do everything, give out very high quality output in everything. Be it writing your resume, or even if you're doing a particular project, you're talking to a teammate, if you're doing it well, talking to a junior or talking to a senior, the how you do that thing, that will add up into how you do everything, and then that kind of builds your profile and your reputation as a good engineer to work with, kind of a guy. That's a very important thing.
Perfect. Thank you, Dishit, again. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone who joined us. Please make sure to like this video. As usual, come on, if you give me some likes, it encourages me to keep going, because, if no one watching and liking, why would I keep going? What's the point? Yeah. So make sure give me those likes to support my channel. So there's quite a few more topics coming up in a few weeks. So make sure to join the meetup group as well to get notifications. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Dishit, for all your tips. And
Yeah,
I'll
and
see. Yep.
yeah, and thank you, Yana, for having me. It was a pleasure having this conversation.
Perfect. Thank you again. And I'll see everyone next Wednesday.
See ya. Bye.
See you.